Welcome to Crosby's Crew. Welcome back to Crosby's Crew.
We always start Crosby's Crew off with a toast, so we're going to do that today. To the long game, to the disciplines that help us perform and the rituals that help us recover, to competition and connection, ambition and gratitude, and the wisdom to know that excellence isn't built in a moment, but over a lifetime. May we pursue greatness, embrace balance, and remember that some of life's greatest victories happen long after the trophies are won. Cheers.
Cheers. Well said.
So we're going to welcome Cristie and Erik Kerr. Cristie is a 9-time Solheim Cup competitor, a 2-time major champion, a 20-time LPGA winner, a former world number 1 in the LPGA, and also an accomplished philanthropist, cancer advocate, and founder of her namesake wine project with her husband, Erik. They have built one of Napa Valley's most respected boutique wine brands, and they have a life centered around excellence, hospitality, and giving back. So we are ecstatic to have you all here today, and we were hoping you could run down what wines we're going to be enjoying together.
Well, it's an honor to be here and be with other fellow athletes and enthusiasts who love wine and sports. And we're going to be tasting 4 different wines today. So our Napa Valley Sauvignon Blanc, our Five Wells Vineyard Chardonnay, our Silver Eagle Pinot Noir, which sadly I don't have a bottle in front of me because it's now sold out for the 9th time in Arizona. And also one of our most coveted single vineyard Cabernets from Beckstoffer Born. So really special lineup. All very small lot production wines. And for those of the viewers, listeners out there that don't know our winery, we're a small award-winning winery based in Napa Valley, featured on the cover of Wine Spectator, and we focus on making the best wines we can every year.
Well, just like being an athlete and like what you did for such a long time playing golf and what I was able to do there in Green Bay in the football world. We like to think of ourselves now as wine athletes. So we like to talk about being wine athletes on our show a lot. And, it takes the same discipline. It's, teammate oriented. We're dedicated to a routine and rest mentality from sports and applying it to our daily rituals of living. So we always start with a white wine warm up. So this is perfect. The Sauvignon Blanc, I've already been tasting a little bit. It is amazing. So I'm getting warmed up. And then we're going to dive into the Chardonnay after that.
Yeah. So when we're getting into the Sauvignon Blanc, we'd love to know what makes yours so exceptional. And the kind of accompanying question for this Sauvignon Blanc is why golf matters. So for Mason, golf mattered. He'll tell you more about why it meant so much to him as a football player and how after football, it helps him keep a competitive mindset. And now it's kind of a glue to some of the fabric of our family. And we'd love to hear a little bit more about how you first became involved in golf. When did it become apparent it was going to be more than a pastime? And did you love it before you were great at it? Did you love Sauvignon Blanc before you were great at producing it?
For me, golf has always been my first love. My husband here. But I started playing golf when I was not even quite 7 years old. And it became quite clear that when I was 10 years old, I wanted to be a professional golfer. I sat in my bed watching the Masters and LPGA tournaments, watched Freddie's ball hang up on the bank at the 12th hole at Augusta. And I just kind of, that's what I wanted to do. Golf has always mattered to me because of the disciplines. And that's very, very much like winemaking. It's no cutting corners to excellence, no shortcuts. It's a living, breathing thing. Wine is a living, breathing thing like golf. I was drawn to it from a very young age as well. I was barely 21 when I discovered wine. So kind of both on parallel tracks in different decades. But I feel like they both kind of relate to each other. Sauvignon Blanc is one of those wines in Napa Valley that not a lot of people tend to gravitate towards. It's the hottest growing white varietal now, but for many, many years, people were ripping out Sauvignon Blanc vines to plant more Cabernet because it wasn't the most easily likable white wine. Angular and herbaceous and too sharp and too acidic, and people didn't quite get what the potential of the wine was. So, our Sauvignon Blancs, we've been producing since 2013, and it's always been in the top 5 scoring Sauvignon Blancs in California. We do it in a little bit more of the French style where we add a little bit of Semillon. And so, our 2025 Napa Valley Sauvignon Blanc is just delicious and just well-rounded, refreshing acidity, tropical fruit notes, but has like that, well-rounded nature to it.
It's so good. It's so good. And I kind of have a follow-up question for, both of y'all. Like, so when did y'all get married? And like, did this project, this wine project, did it kind of start early on, or was this something that y'all kind of discussed and then it, propelled? And who pushed it forward between the two of you? Who was like, all right, like, let's get this thing rolling?
Yeah, so the first part, the easy part, is Cristie and I got married in 2006. Actually, I was in the sports world and working in sports marketing, and we had an agency, and Cristie and I met through business, and we both loved wine. We both loved the things that sports and country club lifestyle and living a good life bring to you, and the wine business started kind of by accident in a way that it was led by Cristie's passion for raising money for breast cancer. So Cristie's mom was diagnosed in 2003 with breast cancer. She said, I don't want to just sit and do nothing about this. So she started a small charity called Birdies for Breast Cancer. And we immediately got corporate support, and people wanted to come and help with the cause for breast cancer. So we did a celebrity pro-am golf tournament, and everybody came the first year. We were shocked that we had the Mark Messiers of the world. We had top players from every sport come and support what we were doing. And we had gotten some wine sponsors, and we said, the wines were good, but they weren't the level that we liked. So we said, Cristie said, we're going to give our wine for this event.
Well, yeah,
so,
you can't play golf forever.
Yeah, you can't play golf forever. And we knew we loved wine, and we had made so many connections. And Cristie will tell her story about how she discovered Napa. But, I had worked in hospitality when I was younger in New York City and discovered high-end champagne. And you really want to learn about these things. And I was a big reader and experiencer. And I just had to learn more about wine when I first tasted some of the better wines in the world. So we were students of it. We were passionate about it, but we certainly knew what we didn't know. And I'll let Cristie tell a story of how she first discovered Napa with the Samsung Championship, and then we made some connections to make our first vineyard in 2008.
Yeah, it's been a crazy ride. Actually, in 2006, through a business associate of Erik's, we got a chance to make a wine with a big company, and didn't quite see eye to eye on the quality of wine that I wanted to produce. And it's still in my brain, like, this is what I wanted to do. We had played a tournament for 6 years in Napa Valley. And that's how I got introduced to wine. I was barely old enough to drink. It was always right before harvest, and I fell in love with the valley. And, So those 4 or 5 years go by, and that opportunity fell through, but a couple years goes by, and it's still in my head that I wanted to do it, like I said. And through those relationships, turns out if you buy a lot of wine in Napa, you make a lot of friends.
I know, they're very friendly. Yeah.
I became a collector, and Erik and I kept going back out there, made a lot of friends, and, traveling around the world, learning about wine. I kind of make a joke that I bleed red, white, and blue, representing our country 9 times. And I'm through and through American. And so, of course, I wanted to make a wine based in Napa Valley. So
great American wine.
Yeah. In 2008, contacted 3 wineries, Minor, Family Duckhorn, and Pride Mountain Vineyards, about who would be interested in doing a small project with us. And Dave Minor couldn't do it. He lost his wife to cancer, but he raised money for a cancer foundation. Duckhorn took the meeting. It's a big company, obviously, but was probably never going to happen. But I was a really, really good customer of Pride Mountain Vineyards up on Spring Mountain, which is kind of nestled above the town of St. Helena. And they said, when can you come out here? This was in May of 2008. And they said, no promises, but, Suzanne's kind of intrigued by your story. So we go out there thinking, well, we have a week in between tournaments, and at that point we hadn't started a family yet, and had just gotten married, and was like, okay, well, if something happens, great. If not, it'll be a few day vacation in Napa. And the first part of that conversation wasn't going really well until I divulged, like, I'm a golfer, feel like I have a palate. My husband's a business guy, can't play golf forever, and I want to partner with a top winery and learn about the wine business, see if it would stick. And in the interim, I want to give 100% of the profits away to breast cancer research. So when she heard that, this is about 40-minute mark in the conversation, she stopped and turned everything on its head and said, I'm going to introduce you to our assistant winemaker, Ramel Rivera. He is selling his family business, and they need to get out of kind of infighting, in their family. And we bought them out that night. And we were in the wine business.
Wow.
They had a 2006 Cabernet Merlot and Petit Syrah blend that were kept separately in barrel. The blend hadn't been put together, so we got to do that and flew to the tournament the next week, won the tournament, finalized the wine, and away we went.
That's just elite. I mean, that is awesome. I've got like chills thinking about it, because it's that mindset, right? Where you're like, we didn't like the quality of the wine. Like, it's like, if I'm going to do something, I'm jumping in.
Put your name on it.
Yeah, you're putting your name on it. You're going to chase it down. It's like, that's why you're a major champion. That's why you did what you did. It's like, you go and chase after it.
Well, and Mason,
go ahead.
Maybe you can make that connection why people couldn't believe throughout his career in Green Bay how much I would quote unquote let him golf. Especially as we ended up having, a handful of kids, but he always was pretty convincing as to why he needed it, because of the mental aspect of his game. And I think you've always been in love with golf. But it sounds like
maybe I'm just a good salesman too.
Maybe he's just a good salesman too.
Just said that it helps.
5 kids, a little break every now and then.
Yeah. It's just,
but
those
could
little
you share
checkouts
with them, with Erik and Cristie, just how golf was part of your football and maybe kind of the overlap there in that elite mindset that you talked about?
As I kind of started getting some recognition in college, people started asking, like, what's your routine? What's your mindset? And I was doing interviews, and I was like, I go and hit golf balls on Friday before the game. Like, after my week of kicking and all my stuff, that was like what I went. I'd go hit a bucket of balls, maybe play a hole or two. And that was kind of like break that cycle of like just doing the same thing. And it kind of freed my mind and got me in a good mental headspace. And it's a similar movement, but it wasn't as much strain. So I felt like I was still kind of prepping for the game. And so through that, and then it was just like, I just kind of found myself always finding golf to be that escape in the midst of all of the, chaos of the pressure of kicking and the pressure of carrying a job and the pressure of being a dad and a father. It's like, if I can go out on the golf course, good or bad day, it's like that for me is just, it's my escape. And then it's a way for me to kind of compete and, continue to kind of have that little fire and that thing in my life now. Now I'm doing some competitive golf stuff, which is fun. But whole different animal. So I give you a lot of credit because, going out and kicking a field goal, because that was my path and my passion and like what I trained and was good at, that felt normal and easy. Going out and competing on the golf course for multiple days is a whole different animal whenever you're going out and trying to shoot a good score. So I love the game, and it's something that I chase after all the time.
No, but I can understand why your escape, though. You were the individual part in a team sport, which you are the part of the team that is kind of individual, right? Like, it's just you kicking the ball.
Yeah.
You have your long snapper and all that. But, I could see why you wanted to play golf, because honing those mental skills, that actually helped you probably to be a better kicker, because golf is hard, right? Like, kicking is hard as well, but like golf is... That's why a lot of elite athletes in other sports want to play golf, because I feel like golf is the hardest sport. And like you said, playing, let alone one tournament with 3 or 4 days in a row, but a whole season of 30 or 35 events, like it's a grind.
For sure.
It's probably important to know how to, rest and recover from that, which brings us back to the wine. But before we move on to the Chardonnay, I do want to just say that as far as drinking your Sauvignon Blanc, I'm not a huge fan of New Zealand Sauvignon Blancs. Let's say I don't mind French Sancerre. I'll drink it willingly, happily, whatever. But I do tend to like anything I can find made domestically. That's a little bit of a unspoken current in our podcast, is just drawing those designations between what's going on here and how it relates to the bigger global scene. But what I love about yours, and whether I'm right or wrong, to me, the kind of tropical note feels very secondary. I get the fresh herbs almost first, and I love it. I think it is so refreshing.
That's awesome. And so you've kind of hit upon something that's unique to our Sauvignon Blanc, is that it does always contain a large amount of Muscat clone. And Sub Muscat is a clone of Sauvignon Blanc. It is a more floral clone of Sauvignon Blanc. So in this particular blend, it's 61%. And so you're going to get that. You're going to get the acid. You're going to get the tropical fruit. But it's more like passion fruit, little Buddha's hand citrus, like even lemon at times, a little key lime zest in our Sauvignon Blanc. But the floral aspect of it comes from that Muscat clone, which not a lot of Sauvignon Blanc coming from Napa uses Muscat clone.
What about the oak? What
That's great.
we do use?
We do age it Sur Lie, and it does see 3 months of neutral oak aging in, French barrels.
Love it.
Ooh, and now I picked up our Chardonnay.
Yeah, so to kind of note of the scarcity, the rarity of our wines, is that they're all small lot production, handcrafted wines. So like the Sauvignon Blanc was only 370 cases made. And that was a big year for us. And now we go into our 2022 Five Wells Vineyard Chardonnay. So the Sauvignon Blanc was 94 points. This is 95 points. We do it across, multiple critics, so that we're not just giving favoritism to one critic. And so again, we're kind of known for California fruit meets an old world style of winemaking. You can definitely see that in this Chardonnay. So
For sure.
the Chardonnay comes from a vineyard called Five Wells, and that's kind of southwest of the town of Sebastopol, about 6 miles inland from the coast as the crow flies. And it's one of our coolest climate, windiest spots. So it's later ripening, kind of goes into October, and it just always has this killer acid to it. But you have to pick it just right, so that lemon curd and those crushed stones and secondary and notes really come through. So this is very much kind of like a Burgundy meets an American style of Chardonnay. So Chardonnay's gone through that renaissance. I can talk about wine until the cows come home.
I love it.
Chardonnay's gone through that renaissance from being the biggest, oakiest, butteriest Chardonnay, and that's just not our style of wines that we produce. So you can really see that in this Chardonnay.
So you want to be in California and have that Napa notoriety, but you're going to completely write your own story here on how you're doing it. You're not trying to.
Those Napa varietals of Cabernet Sauvignon Blanc we do because of climate there, but we exclusively source all of our Burgundian varietals, Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, from Sonoma Coast because of the climate. It's cooler. Cooler temperatures will yield more acid. And warmer temperatures, like in Napa, will yield a higher alcohol content, riper style of fruit. So that's why we go to Sonoma for our Chardonnay and Pinot Noir.
Well, I think with this Chardonnay, we're going to maybe dive into the mental game of playing the sports that we love, and I honestly of making wine, because like hearing y'all talk about it, it's like there are a lot of parallels where you got to be careful too of not letting success let you rest on your laurels and not chasing the wrong things, right? Like I think in sports so many times we get I've seen so many, unfortunately, great athletes and, so much talent chase after the wrong thing in their sport and it just not go well. So finding that thing, finding what you do well, and then just plodding along and making sure that process and taking the good, taking all the good press and the bad press the same way, and just saying how are we going to do this the way we want to, and how are we going to do it at an excellent level. So talk about those two parallels in winemaking and in sports.
Yeah. And
golf specifically.
Yeah. I think that, let's just talk about Chardonnay for a moment, is that, we could have chased the wrong things. We could have made that big buttery oaky style, but we said, no, this is not who we are. This is not about the style that we're going for, the style that we like to drink, and kind of being true to the varietal. So, we had to make a decision, even before we've picked any of our Chardonnay grapes, like what kind of style are we going to make, right? So we could have chased the wrong things, but we were true to ourselves, just like an athlete that works hard, whether it's in NFL football or golf, like, you have to be true to yourself and your routine and what you're doing and what you want to make or what you want to be. And, that's definitely evident more than I think any of our wines. That actually kind of happened to be a lucky question related to the Chardonnay. But yeah, I mean, that's what I think.
Well, and for me, that's a connection for when you're playing golf, you have to play the ball where it lies, right? I want to stay on the sports kind of metaphor here, the sports vein. And that is when you have a bad or a less than ideal harvest, maybe it's too wet, maybe it was too hot, or you missed the putt, or you have a bad game, you miss a kick. Do you see a connection now as a winemaker between the same mentality that you had when you're the next putt or the tee shot after the putt that didn't go in, in one, and how do those things work together?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I honestly think that they relate not perfectly to each other, but you have to be able to adapt and pivot. And let's just talk about 22 harvest for a second. And, this is our 22 five-well Chardonnay. We had massive heat spikes in Napa and Sonoma, triple-digit heat for 10 days in a row. We got lucky with the Chardonnay site that it's like the coolest site that we harvest from, but still we had to put shade cloth up. We had to monitor instead of on a bi-weekly basis. Literally every 3 days we had to go see where the fruit was at to be able to know when to pick. So, the same thing when things aren't going well, you have to adapt in sports. You absolutely have to adapt in winemaking. I would say there are more variables, I think, that in winemaking than there are in sports, just because maybe that's not fair, but you're dealing with a whole team of people, right? And so you're relying on decisions that they make and the information they're getting instead of being an individual athlete in golf, or, you're an individual athlete within a team sport and football, right? So you have to take. There's
always a team.
Yeah, always a team. There's always a team. Being even as a professional golfer, had coach. Oh yeah. Husband. So much support that I could mental coach. I could not. Raise a family without him, or he was my agent also for a very long time. So there's always a team. So while golf is a more individual sport, being a kicker is still kind of individual within the team, even though
for sure,
like you have to take the information that you're getting, make the best decisions that you can, whether it's sport or winemaking.
Yeah, and in winemaking, Mother Nature and God are on your team, so sometimes they throw you some curveballs too. And in 2020, we didn't really have any red wine out of Napa and Sonoma because of the smoke from the fires. So we had to find some fruit for our business and for our members. And you learn a lot from sports about being adaptable. And being able to pivot and
handle the stress of it.
And handle the stress of it, and knowing what you don't know and saying, we can solve this. This will go on, and we will find a way to do the things that we love to do. And I think in the good years too, you also can't really sacrifice and say, I'm going to be guilty of just like thinking that everything's going to work out. Everyone's blocked. Every wine bottle is going to be perfect, and every varietal that we source is going to be exactly as it was the last year. It's a living and breathing thing, and it's why we have seasons in sports and seasons in winemaking, right?
Yeah, even if the kick kind of wasn't a perfect kick, as long as it goes through the uprights and as long as the end consumer with our wine has the best experience, I mean that's what we're going for.
That's right. I mean, after every season, and I learned through my process the hard way. It was like trying to recreate success or something that happened in a previous year, and like just thinking that the next season, if I just did the exact same things, like it's all going to be good. And then all of a sudden, snap doesn't look quite right. Things aren't quite, going as well. You got to adapt.
Yeah.
You got to adapt really fast. I do want to ask before we move on to the next wine, between the two of you, so who has to tell the other not to go for the green into, and who has to, like, who's the more
that's not
risk?
I love my husband, but he's a 14 handicap, so that's not really.
Oh, I'm just saying in business too. Like, who's the one that pulls back? Cristie, are you the one that's like, I'm pulling 3-wood, I'm going for it, and like we're trying, we're head first, and does Erik try to pull you back, or in business is Erik going like, hey, we're pushing forward, and you're like, hey, maybe we should play this a little more conservative.
They like, my whole motto is, don't ask for forgiveness. Or what is it? Don't ask for
permission.
Cristie likes to drive. She's amazing at leadership. She really knows the direction she wants to go. I'm more of the pause guy to say, hey, let's back away and talk about this one more.
And therefore he's the relationship person, and I'm the back end, like logistical person who's driving all the little annoying details. So
yeah,
I love it.
It's one of the things. It's a dynamic that it's great that you point out, and you guys are obviously awesome together. But at some point you have to hit the shot, right? At some point you have to make the kick. So a lot of other stuff, you want it to be as normalized as possible. So my job is not to kick it all the time. My job sometimes is just to make sure that that everything has been thought about and put in the right place. And I think that's the teamwork behind a Napa Valley wine. There's so many people don't see. You taste the final product, but we have to source sometimes 3 years in advance of what we think the consumer is going to want, what we think is going to be popular, what the pundits tell us to make. But we've always kind of been true to ourselves, and we made what we know. 2,000 years of an industry that's been around, that people have been passionate about. So we kind of follow our hearts and our heads, and I think in sports that's a good combination, right?
Yeah,
I love that.
That feels a bit like golf too, right? But it is a pretty historic sport. It's a historic pastime, so it makes sense. You can't trace the trends, right? You have to have an idea. There's only so much reinvention that can be done.
Be true to yourself in all things.
You have to, especially if you've had success. I mean, I think that's one thing. My mentor, Jim McLean, who took me under his wing, after being in the first tee program in Miami, took me under his wing and said, we're gonna take what you have and we're gonna help you make it better. But A, if you want to, and B, we're not going to change the natural talent and the things you do well. So
that's a great coach. That's awesome.
Well, we're going to take a quick moment to identify our title sponsor, Kohler, and we'll be back with Pinot Noir next. For us, Kohler isn't just a brand. It's a part of our story. My dad was an exclusive Kohler dealer, so I grew up knowing their commitment to quality and design.
And for me, I helped open Lodge Kohler in Green Bay, and we've celebrated some of our best memories there, like my 40th birthday at Black Wolf Run.
Kohler, Wisconsin and Kohler properties have always been our favorite places to relax, connect, and of course, enjoy great wine together.
So it feels full circle that Kohler Company, boldly innovating for over 150 years, is now part of Crosby's crew, bringing extraordinary moments to everyday life. Cheers to that.
Okay, so it's hard to put down the Chardonnay, just like it was hard to let go of the Sauvignon Blanc, but we are forging ahead. We're turning onto the back nine with this Pinot Noir, and we want to just kind of keep our foot on the gas, and we're talking about the science behind pressure too. But tell us a little bit more about this Pinot Noir, and then we'll start peppering you.
Sure. So again, very highly rated, 96 points from Jeff Dunnick. This is my favorite varietal. It's what got me into the wine business, and I've set out with my husband Erik to produce this Pinot Noir from California. So this is our 2023 Silver Eagle Vineyard Pinot Noir. It is from Sonoma Coast. Some people consider it Russian River Valley. It comes from even more special area called the Stoats Ridge, which is a landmass that sits up several hundred feet in the air. That separates West Sonoma County from the Russian River Valley, has a soil type found no other place in the world called fine gold ridge sandy loam soil mixed with red shale, literally found no other place in the world. So allows those roots to really run deep and create ideal drainage conditions to create these clusters of berries that are just like small clusters, actually smaller than most Pinot Noir. So intense amount of vivacious fruit that comes out of there, but also kind of where it sits in the Sonoma Coast has that beautiful acid retention and cooler temperatures as well. So kind of a unicorn here. It's all Ulysses Valdez farm fruit. They're the preeminent grower of Chardonnay and Pinot Noir in the Sonoma Coast. You can tell I hate talking about Pinot Noir. One unique thing.
It's a shame you didn't prepare.
Yeah, no, I actually didn't. This is all kind of in my brain.
It's just deep in there. That's deep rooted.
For sure. And so one thing we do unique to the world of California Pinot Noir making, more people are starting to do this, which is a practice they've done in Burgundy for thousands of years, is we let it sit whole cluster fermenting. So our 23 vintage was for 24 days. What does that mean, whole cluster? Because with white wine, you press the juice off, but any red wine, you have kind of that skin contact, but we also keep the stems on there to have textural and aromatic lift. So it also has a deeper, darker color than most Pinot Noir, and you're going to get kind of that thatchiness, that earthiness, not only from the Pinot varietal, which there are 3 clones, Von Romane, Calera, and Pommard, which make it extra complex from the same vineyard, but that whole cluster fermentation really gives it that kind of lift. We always like to say that green aspect of the stems gives that red fruit a lift. Black cherry in this wine, sassafras, which a lot of people don't know is the root.
I do think that's what I'm tasting because I grew up drinking sarsaparilla in Colorado.
So
and
there's like
it's that zing.
Spice, kind of almost like a Chinese 5 spice. So love this wine. And I have none of it taste because it just sold out. So we're going to get some.
Apparently, yes, everyone loves this wine because y'all can't even get it where you are.
Mason just poured himself some more.
It's really amazing. And the universal glass that you have, I love, from everything from Sauvignon Blanc to Cabernet. So glassware is important. I can't tell you how many events we do where they'll pour this Pinot into a white wine glass and it just makes me cringe. Because it deserves the proper glass. So at least everybody this is kind of the Riedel, all-purpose swirl, red wine glass that you can get off Amazon or off Riedel.com. They're a partner of ours when we do certain events. That is a great glass. Or the glass, I don't know, it looks like, you have shots?
This wine is a discovery wine for us because it's always been Cristie's favorite. And when we pour it, people always say, well, I don't really like Pinot. Mm-hmm. And we say, well, this is kind of a cab drinker's Pinot, and it's an oversimplification, but this really wins a lot of palates for us, and it's a staple in all of our live events. It pairs so great with so many different kinds of food, but it's also great just by the fireplace sipping alone. It's a really special wine in our portfolio.
Yeah.
And I love that wording, and I think you capture people where you say this is a cab drinker's Pinot, and those words, all of a sudden somebody in their brain, like they're like, oh, okay, and it kind of changes their mind, right, a little bit.
I describe it to people that way because it is, again, an oversimplification to give them a visualization that it is a bigger wine than they're usually used to, right? So when we're
I love that.
Okay, Mason, what do you smell?
Yeah.
We go right ahead and embarrass ourselves. We don't even worry about it.
That's the beautiful thing about wine. And I think the wine industry is in a little bit of a pickle because it got too fancy, right? Like, wine's relatable. And I think being inside the ropes as a golfer, that's why I love everything about wine, because it's so outside the ropes.
I think one of the things about wine that I've learned over 20 some odd years of doing it and relating it to sports is the fans and the people that are passionate about it, they love to learn. They don't want to be talked down to. They don't want to be told who to root for, who not to root for, who's playing well, who's good at this or that. They really want to be exposed to it in a way that makes them feel comfortable. And we do a lot of in-person education. We do a lot of live events because we love the consumer. We love being in front of them. We love hearing what they have to say about wines like Pinot Noir and Sauvignon Blanc, which were, when we started, they were not the most popular California wines, but we knew that's what the world palate understood. And America's gotten a lot better with wine education and introducing people to wine, but it's super competitive. So
on that note, you're smelling, tasting the wine,
Yeah.
put you on the spot. What do you get?
That's a good question.
When I smell it, it almost feels just a touch floral to me, which I like. Like I keep smelling.
Is that rose petal?
That's what I smell is rose.
Yeah, violets.
It is so floral, but then like I get a little like
Kind of black,
that
little black
minerality.
fruit.
Like I don't know what like where this is grown. You might have said it, and I might have missed it, but from that you said this is very unique, right? Like it's the only place that has this type of soil, and that's what I'm like.
Actually, not black, red fruit.
No, I'm smelling like.
But it does have black and red cherry. But you're correct.
Okay.
The thing for a very long time, and I became a sommelier in 2016. For a very long time, somms would be like, no, you're wrong, but you're not. Everybody has different.
You're not wrong.
And smell sensations, right?
Good point.
But like that sandy soil, it's almost like a Coonawarra Australian Cabernet that's a little cooler climate that has that sandy soil, which I can give you some recommend, and you can kind of get it, right? Like so, it's the sandy soil, but it's mixed with like kind of like that red. It's slightly volcanic, but it's shaly. It's not
Okay.
quite like a Diamond Creek Cabernet that is just red earth. Right?
That's what I was. It's like, and it's less like stone and like river stuff. We say like river rocks and like
less
limestone.
rock.
It's definitely like I was outside.
More mineral.
I was outside doing some stuff, spraying our driveway, and there was some topsoil and stuff. So like I was like around some like dirts today.
It's pretty hot.
And I'm like
that's the earthiness. I
Forest
think a
floor
lot
for
of people
sure.
get like a wet leaf or a moss.
yeah.
Right, like those grow on the vines there. So Pinot Noirs and
So good.
and you can pair Pinot with anything, literally anything. We do smoked salmon. We do pizza. We do pork belly tacos, like anything that you want.
I love it.
It is so versatile. Just enough fruit, just enough forest floor. But while we're talking about Pinots, I don't want to let you guys off the hook. I'd like to know, just off the top of your heads, some of the most pressure-packed putts and kicks you've had. At least one or two.
Ooh, and I'm going to go on the other side because like I want to know when you were the most nervous with me kicking, and I kind of want to know when Erik maybe was like, I'm not sure Cristie can pull this off, because I know there's been some moments.
I don't know what you're talking about. I always knew it was going through.
When you're in the moment,
Is this the divorce podcast?
More wine, quickly.
Hey, I like it. Just shoot me straight. Like I'd come home and my oldest, like we have one son and 4 daughters. So our oldest is our son. And if I missed a kick in a game, like I dreaded coming home more than facing, because like these two would just be like, what happened? Like, what are you doing out there?
I just want to understand.
Well, I guess I can go first. I mean, most nervous over a putt. Oh God. I probably think the most nervous I was ever over a putt was for my second win, which I didn't end up winning, but the year after that I ended up winning in a 7-hole playoff. And I had like a 3.5 footer. I lipped it out, and then I go to Tiger Jam and I see Tiger the night. He goes, really, you lost? I was like, I'm sorry, I don't have 55 million wins like you do, because I grew up as a junior golf Tiger, but that made me better for the next year. I went and I ended up winning in a 7-hole playoff in Vegas, of all places, same place.
Love it.
I had to get my second win, and it made me better. And Erik, it was all meant to be, because Erik got to see my second win. It was the first one I got to see. So that was probably the most nervous I had ever been. But as you hone your craft, as you get more experience, as you get better, I don't know, like I ended up being the ice queen. Like I was always nervous, but I channeled it into a way that was useful, because I worked with a lot of different mental coaches, because I thought my mind was the most important club in my bag. So I've worked with Bob Rotella, Dr. Joseph Parent, Dr. Fran Pirazzolo, people that have worked with the Yankees and individual athletes and all that. So I think that I turned my nervousness into excitement instead of the nervousness for the field of fear of failure. I think I turned it into, for anticipation of success. So I handled my mental energy different. And I guess that's why I was able to do what I was able to do. But you're still nervous, but like nervous is the connotation that you're going to mess up, I think. There were all butterflies, even on the first tee, even playing in the LPGA Senior Championship last year, right? So there's always butterflies, but nervous, yeah. And then once I figured out like nervous doesn't make you play well or equate to success, I kind of figured out a way to counteract that.
You rebranded it.
Yep, I rebranded it.
Yeah, from my standpoint, there's so many memories. I was out on tour with Cristie for many years, and it's always nerve-wracking to not be able to do anything and to not be in control. And so when you see her run a birdie putt, 5 feet by, and I'm like, oh my God, a birdie putt 5 feet by, and her coach is like, she did it on purpose. So that 5-footer always goes in. So, you learn that you really don't know what you're seeing 100%, and you really don't have any control over it. And she's looking at it completely differently than I do. I think probably my best memory was when Cristie became number one in the world. She did it in Rochester, New York, where I went to college, and we had a huge gallery there. And I think she had an 8-shot lead going into the weekend, and I think she wound up setting the record for the biggest lead in a major, and won by I think 14 shots or something.
I am blessed by God. I'm just going to say that.
But she did that, and I looked at her coach on Friday afternoon. I said, "When can I relax?" He said, "Yesterday." So sometimes the people that know, and I'm sure if you would have asked Mason's teammates, he's like, he ain't missing this kick. I mean, they've seen him do it all over again, and we always think, about what could affect. We love our partner. We love seeing them in the ultimate limelight, and it doesn't always work out. But yeah, so I was always more nervous outside the ropes watching than Cristie was inside the ropes. And
you were kind of nervous at the U.S. Open too, but I want to hear about.
I want to hear because I love your career, and obviously what you guys do is so important, football, and it's underrated in my opinion.
Well, I appreciate that. I think it was always the only time I think I ever felt
actually
pressure
nervous?
and was after maybe, a string of, not good performances, or in those moments, like Molly and I would have a conversation, and, there was, it's like a bad game, and it's almost like your next kick after those games, because especially in our job, it's like you wait a week, you don't get another opportunity. Nobody sees you do all the work and all the things. And it's like, everyone's watching and expecting like
what have you done for
bad results or what's going to happen, and no one understands that it's like, okay, like bad performances happen, things, you make adjustments and you go back out. And there were moments in my career where Molly and I would look at each other and just like should I keep doing this? It's like, you put the effort in, do all the work and all the things. And then but the beauty of coming out on the other side is worth every one of those like pressure and like hard moments. And I always tell, when I get a chance to talk to young people, I'm like, the pressure of success is so much harder than the pressure of failure.
We learned that too. Yeah.
Like handling and sustaining success takes so much more sacrifice and pressure and risk and all those things than
courage. It takes more courage
than failing. And then honestly, overcoming adversity feels there's a target. There's something that you're chasing after. You have to be able to reset and chase after it every time you go back out there. So
yeah, just like making wine, you can't you take the lessons forward of the previous vintages, but if you try and use the same blend, or like nobody's using the same blend year to year, right? They're tasting it and adjusting.
All right. What made you nervous?
I have three I can think of off the top of my head. When I was pregnant with our twins and had the entire team over to watch that Dallas playoff game, and you had to kick those 50 whatever yarders twice. Yeah. And for sure, what is it? Say for during. It was like a draw. Second one.
It was a pinch. It was just a little pinch fade.
When he had to re-kick it, it definitely went outside the upright and then like faded back in.
I mean,
right?
Cristie, you had a go-to golf shot, right? And that like whenever there's like a little nervy and it's a little like I just hit my little knockdown fade and that, that got the job done.
Well, we can just end on that Dallas one because I want to get to this cab.
Nervous too because I don't like the Cowboys.
Oh, you were watching that game.
Nobody does, Erik. Nobody does.
Hi, Rogan. Okay.
Hi, puppy. All right. So we love the Pinot Noir. So far, we're loving all of them. But we're going to go ahead and bravely soldier on to this Cabernet Sauvignon, which we kind of titled this part of the podcast, The Long Game. And so we want to hear all about this Cabernet, but we also want to hear from both of you and from you, Mace, but what comes after the championships and how do you move into that next phase, which you guys have obviously done as a couple. Sounds like it's kind of the same partnership, just in a new application, but we would love to hear about this beautiful red wine right now.
Thank you. This is our 2021 Beckstoffer Born Cabernet Sauvignon, 97 points. It is a heritage vineyard, one of the oldest planted vineyards in all of Napa Valley, in the town of St. Helena, just kind of a little bit south of and west of the town of St. Helena. Obviously, Beckstoffer Vineyards is the preeminent grower of Cabernet in all of California and world renowned literally at every corner of the world. It's just a really special property. So, the Bournes, William Bowers Bourne II, was dubbed the last Bonanza King of the California Gold Rush era, and this was in the late 1700s. And he bought this property in St. Helena as a family home. 50 years later, they figured out they could grow really good wine there. And many, many years later, Beckstoffer purchased a good portion of the property in 2010 to become a heritage vineyard for Napa Valley, our Beckstoffer Born Vineyard Cabernet. He's also credited for creating and founding the Culinary Institute of America at CIA Greystone in St. Helena. So a lot of heritage, a lot of history behind this vineyard. Not a lot of people get to source Beckstoffer Born. Thank you so much to the Beckstoffer family for allowing us to make beautiful wine out of this property. We only made 200 cases of this wine. St. Helena is traditionally a warmer site, so trying to keep the alcohol percentage down on this is
okay.
Right? So like warmer temperatures yield more alcohol, but we don't pick it the ripest it can be picked. And this is one of the only wines that we actually use 100% new oak because there's so much grippy tannin on this wine. It needs to mellow it out. So really dark, black and blue fruits, boysenberry, blackberry, blueberry, cedar, kind of dried herbs, just really juicy quality. Lots of violets. They grow all over the property there, so lots of violets. Kind of reminiscent in this wine, and it's a big wine, right? So this wine's now was bottled in 2023 because it spends 2.5 years on oak, it's barely middle of 2026, and here we are, and it's still a really big wine. This wine could outlive us.
So good. And
that's what the long game is all about. I was noticing it says it's a 14.7, so that kind of, I'm guessing that's a true 14.7, and that's kind of harkens back to what you're trying to do by picking it before its total ripeness. That is more of a, right, like a Bordeaux or a European style with that lower.
Correct. And we're not trying to make Bordeaux, right? We're trying to make Napa Valley Cabernet. That is
right.
It's big, it's juicy, but we try to have restraint to our wines. So to keep that, acid backbone on the wines and those floral aspects that your nose is really good at picking out. So that's what we try to do. And I think that's why we're such a crowd-pleasing, wine, because it has kind of the total package.
Well, I actually want to almost skip most of what we were going to talk about here because I feel like you've covered so much of what you've done. And Mason, we've covered a bit on other episodes because I think this wine, to me, feels like the perfect segue to the one question I really wanted to ask. So to me, this Cabernet, and please, by all means, push back and give a different answer, but it reminds me of like Whistling Straits in the sense of it's here in America. It's done beautifully well and authentically, but it does harken back to like what you were saying in old world traditions. But we'd like to know between the two of you, what golf course embodies each one of your wines and why?
That's a good question.
Because, at tastings and at wine dinners, people are just used to the status quo. So I kind of like to say, hey, if this wine were a movie star, like what would it be? So like, I actually think that, and Kohler's got a place near and dear to my heart. I met Mr. Kohler, before he passed away. And I played, I actually have not played Whistling Straits. Believe it or not,
maybe you guys should do that together.
All right, yeah, we're gonna go play together. Let's go.
I played 2 U.S. Opens at Black Wolf Run.
Yes, I remember. Yes, when y'all were playing there, I'd always go out for like a media thing and all that. Like, I love the setup, like the original setup for the U.S. Opens. It was awesome.
People ask like, "What's your favorite golf course?" And I'm just like, it's hard because I haven't played them all. Right, I haven't played all the things.
Oh gosh, I feel like you'd say that.
The rugged nature of it, but it's so polished, but it's so major quality and everything. I would say, from what I've seen, Whistling Straits is a great call on this one. I would say if it is a movie star, I would say it's Clint Eastwood because he's rugged.
Ooh.
But he's perfectly polished and elegant, and you don't mess with him, right?
Oh, I love it.
Pinot Noir, I don't know. I think my Pinot Noir is kind of like Beth Dutton.
Nice.
Like Beth Dutton.
I love the pop culture.
Yeah. I mean, go movie star versus golf course. This is always a great, kind of talking point at our dinners, but I've never actually equated it to golf courses. I don't know. I don't know. I would say I'm going Pine Valley for our Pinot. Pine Valley. It surprises you, and it's tough as nails, but it's beautiful at the same time.
Still really pleasant.
Still really pleasant, but still has a little bit of a bite.
Because you're getting kind of punched, yeah.
Yeah, kind of punched. I don't know. Let's go Chardonnay. We'll go backwards. So Chardonnay, if it was a movie star,
first of all, it's so hard to make and it's so hard to get right.
Which wine are you talking about now?
The Chardonnay,
okay.
So it's demanding,
but it's also so old school because it's a varietal that's been around for a long time. It's so favored.
Are you pulling one right now?
I'm gonna pull. I want my hat. I'm gonna pull the needles. I'm gonna pull a course that is like misunderstood, but so I'm gonna pull. I
don't. But to me, it's still super elegant and old world, but new meets old world. I think I'm going Grace Kelly.
Ooh.
Okay.
Timeless, but she was ahead of her time.
Well, I'll go with needles. I can't kind of.
I like it.
Place where I won U.S. Open. Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah, I'm back. I've got it right here.
More new age. It's a little bit more like, kind of popular now. I got to think about that one for a second. You guys talk.
Okay, we'll talk amongst ourselves. Erik, do you want to give us one question on anything? It could be for me. It could be for Mason. It could be for Mason and I.
Yeah, I mean, you started to lean into this and a little bit about finding passion post sports and it's like all of a sudden the light turns off and people go in different directions and teammates and people are gone and you're not in it as much. How did you guys spend your time with sports, but without sports as part of the daily plug-in of what you were doing? And then the second question I was going to ask related strictly to sports because I've spent so much time around sports. And as I said, I think what you did, Mace, was so underrated. How do you be turned off for so long in a game and then all of a sudden because with Cristie, she's from the time she tees off, she's untouchable for 4.5, 5 hours. And
engaged.
On, right? And then she's off. Very different than in football because obviously there's offense and defense. But even so those are my two questions. And
those are great questions.
I never got to ask how do you occupy yourself mentally, physically, in that. So those two questions I'm fascinated by.
saying you're not on all the time. I think you almost had kind of I was guaranteed to be on the whole time. Like you weren't, but
Right.
you were ready all the time. So I think you almost had a harder job in a sense than a golfer. But yeah, I mean, it's tough. But going back to the Sauvignon Blanc, I haven't thought about the golf course yet, but I'm going to go with Tina Turner. I just love Tina Turner. She's rolling down the river. Like just
Nice.
Tina Turner.
Well, when I picture Tina Turner, I picture her doing her like signature dance move.
You know, got this.
And that's how your Sauvignon Blanc makes me feel. I want to do that signature dance move too.
She just, you don't mess with her. She's serious, but she's a performer and she's lively, vivacious. She always brought that energy. I don't know. That's why I saw her last night.
Talented.
Talented. I think that I'm going.
Serious about having fun. Serious about being good.
Fun. Yeah, I love it.
I still want the golf course.
Yet because golf is a punch in the gut usually, but I'm going with Tina Turner for the wine.
I love that.
Well, maybe we call this Sauvignon Blanc like the Bandon Dunes or the Sand Valleys or something where
played any of them.
You know,
Okay.
they built them.
Golf when we're off.
Yeah, exactly.
Might be Bandon. It might be a great muni because it's unexpected and you
Great
go
muni.
there and it's checked all the boxes.
Yeah,
right?
but like Bethpage Black Muni, not like a muni.
Something that you enjoy, a Torrey Pines, or like a public course that you can get on and play, but it's gonna.
Torrey's amazing. So I think we'll stop going in that direction. Talking about the wine.
I love that.
Yeah, I don't know. I like her energy and saw her on a video.
Yes.
Today, so I'm going with that.
So now is the time. We're going to have a quick break for Perlick to talk about why that's so important to us. And when we come back, we're going to try and pick a favorite and close it out.
One of the best things about this podcast is how it connects our love of wine with the people and companies who share that passion.
Like Perlick Refrigeration. We first crossed paths through Mason's work with Sartori Cheese and Make-A-Wish, where Mason met Jeff Schwager, who's now on Perlick's board and an investor in one of our favorite Napa wineries, Ovid.
Perlick has been setting the standard for wine storage for over a century, and their wine refrigeration is second to none because great wine deserves perfect care.
We're proud to have Perlick as part of Crosby's crew, keeping our wine at the perfect temp, from the first pour to the last drop.
All right. Thank you so much for sticking with us for this episode. It is time to try and say a favorite. Why don't we go in clockwise order? So we'll go around the table. I have to say it was the first and the last for me.
But then you got to pick one.
She does.
You don't actually, because all of our wines are awesome.
I cannot. I've never picked. Have I picked two? I picked two. I picked the Sauvignon Blanc and the Cabernet.
I'm torn. I mean,
You like the Pinot. You always like the Pinot.
they are all amazing. The Chardonnay was like so unique and awesome, but I do think I have to go with the Pinot.
I know him. I know him.
Yeah.
They always like to say that while Cabernet is the king, I like to say while Cabernet is the king, Pinot is the queen that rules the world.
That's right. It's got so much going on. I mean, just from its nose to like, I get so much from it, and I love that. I love the Pinot.
And I'm gonna go Pinot as well because I'm a Pinophile and I love Pinots from all over the world, but I especially love ours.
I love that.
The unique nature of it, and it's our number one selling varietal because it's the juxtaposition of quality, surprising people, how good it is and the price point versus like even as good as our single vineyard Cabernet is, and we could charge double for our single vineyard Cabernet, right? But it's kind of that the joke of the crazy meets hot. It's kind of like the
The hot crazy scale. Oh my gosh, that's fantastic.
We're so in line. I mean, that's like I talk about
You're
that all the
speaking
time
Mason's
on my show.
Well, we're glad that you love Chardonnays so much that you wanted to make one with such a unique perspective and profile and still be Californian. But we want to thank you both. We know you're very busy. We love nothing more than getting to hear from those who are in the project doing it. And the fact that you all both are so authentically in the sports world, in the wine world, is a privilege and a pleasure for us. So thank you both for your time, for the amazing wines, and we're looking forward to all that the future can bring. Here's to you, Erik, for answering
Pinot.
all my phone calls. I've got my Chardonnay. Cheers. Till next time.
Who you share it with.
Well, that's it for this pour. Thanks for spending time with Crosby's crew. If you tried one or all of the wines from today's episode, we want to hear about it. Head to our socials and let us know which one was your favorite and why.
Curious about what we're tasting next? Check the lineup and send us your questions. We'll be answering them in the upcoming episodes. Nothing's too nerdy or too simple. If you're wondering, someone else is probably wondering too.
And hey, before you go, just a reminder that drinking and driving is never okay. Please enjoy wine responsibly. Always have a designated driver lined up before the bottles open and consume in moderation.
Until next time, cheers from the crew.